Hey, and welcome to the very first episode or video or whatever you want to call it of Gooner Down Under TV. Gonna keep it nice and simple, no rocket science needed. I'm a Gooner, I live in Australia, hence the Gooner Down Under. And with this new YouTube channel, I want it to be all things Arsenal. So we'll have that more obvious sort of content with post-match reactions. However, I'll also try and get in as many post-match lives as possible, just so I can get to interact with all of you, get inputs of Gooners all around the world. It will be a bit difficult because here in Australia, it's not so time-friendly. A lot of the games are around midnight, or 2 a.m., 3 a.m., sometimes 5 a.m., so it will be tough, but I will try and get in as many as possible as well. We're going to be diving deep into that transfer wormhole. I feel like as Arsenal fans, we're linked to a new player every single day. And although it feels like it doesn't end, it's also really fun to talk about. And so we're going to get into all that good stuff here. I think we're going to leave a little bit of those sort of concrete talks for the future and just have a little bit more fun for that first video today. Last sort of thing, regarding the channel, I also do want different types of content. Hopefully when that new football game comes out from EA, we can have some sort of Arsenal Road to Glory series, include some past and present teams. Maybe we can get to a point where you're sharing your teams with me. I can trial them, give them a go, see how we go, and basically just have a little bit of fun throughout the season. And lastly, those classic videos, all-time Arsenal 11s, World 11s, maybe even 11s about players Arsenal have been linked to in the past. I think, they'll all be fun, especially just trying to help us get from game to game and make that time in between feel a little bit shorter. I think that being said, I've held this intro hostage long enough, and we're going to get straight into today's topic, all about should Arsenal pursue Neymar. Look, I don't think there's any concrete talks here. I don't think we're going to get a Fabrizio Romano, here we go, anytime soon. However, there was that recent podcast with Julio Baptista talking about how he thinks Neymar could be that key to unlocking Arsenal's success in the Premier League and the Champions League, and basically how he thinks it'd be a perfect fit between the two. Being half Brazilian myself, probably very biased, huge fan of the national team. I would absolutely love Neymar to come at any cost. And I think, he'd be a perfect player for us, especially to take that next step. Look, but with Neymar, I definitely get there's a lot of controversies. I understand why some people maybe don't want him to come to Arsenal or think Arsenal should stay clear of him at any cost and no point get him whatsoever. I get it. I think, usually it's for one of four reasons. Maybe it's his age now, his, perceived ego, whether he even fits in our style of play, or his injury concerns. Hopefully by the end of this video, I can tackle all four of these concerns and make you think as well that Neymar should come to the Arsenal. Or, maybe I don't. Leave a comment if I don't. Tell me why you think we should avoid him. Maybe it's something I brought up, maybe didn't tackle it well enough, or maybe it's something I missed altogether. Pop it down in the comments below. That's what this whole channel is about. Different points of view, different perspectives, all coming together. I'm going to start off with that first one right away. We're going to talk about that age concern. He is 31 years old now. And under Arteta, typically we have that young crop of 22 to 26-year-olds, give or take. And, he doesn't fit that demographic. But I, for one, I don't think that's a concern at all. I think especially after losing Granit Xhaka, who was one of the more experienced heads in our locker room, I think we need someone who's sort of been there and who's done that on that big stage, especially to help our younger guys. And I think it'd be instrumental for, our Martinellis, our Sakas, even our Odegaards. And so, last season, even though it was the Europa League and we had mixed teams playing in it, I don't think we were that convincing, especially in that second game against Sporting, which we didn't get through. We went pretty strong in that, and we didn't look that great. We weren't comfortable. We weren't the team on the front foot, and I don't think we showed our class as well as we should have. And I think because of that, we sort of need to learn how to play in Europe. You saw with City how long it took them to finally break that curse. It took them getting a player like Haaland, who's a goal scoring machine. It took them also, adjusting their style of play, maybe not being so gun ho, being a little bit more reserved. And I think that's especially what we need. Someone like Neymar, who's world class, who can help us in those games where we don't have everything going, and we just need that little bit of magic to turn the game on its heels. And that being said as well, everywhere he's gone, he's been a winner. He's won trophies. I get maybe not to the level of people's expectations or what he should achieve based on his talent, especially, with the lack of Champions League at PSG, lack of World Cups for Brazil. By lack, I mean none. But, he still has won trophies everywhere he's gone. From Santos early on, pretty sure he won the Brazilian League. I think he won the Copa Libertadores and the Copa Sudamerica as well. Sort of like the Champions League and Europa League of South America. And then, moved to Barcelona, won the Champions League, won the La Liga, won the domestic cups, and then moved to PSG and won the domestic cups and the leagues as well. That being said, actually, he also did win the Confederations Cup in 2013, I believe, against Spain for Brazil, and also the Olympic gold medal. So maybe it's not exactly the heights of what is expected, but he still has won trophies. And I think as an Arsenal fan, that's something we're all in dire need of. Yes, we win the occasional FA Cup here and there, but we're all longing for much more. And I think he can definitely help with that. And so I think, that's sort of the age concern done. We're going to move on to that ego or that perceived ego. And look, I think a lot of it gets built up in the media because they know people are going to click when they see something about Neymar. There's sort of a new controversy every single day. And although I don't agree with everything in his personal life, I think on the football field, he's undeniably one of the best players in the world. And yes, I get that maybe his ego is too big for Arteta. Everyone's going to talk about what happened with Aubameyang. But look, that first season, even with Aubameyang, Arteta won the FA Cup. And I think from there, that relationship just got sour. I think sometimes we sort of look into, because he was a big ego, a little bit too much. But sometimes it just doesn't work anymore. Arteta had a new style of play that Aubameyang didn't fit. A lot of other players have gone under Arteta's reign, but sort of not talked about because maybe they weren't as big of an ego as Aubameyang, or they weren't as highly touted. And so I think sometimes that can just get blown out of proportion a little bit too much. You see in the national team, all the players love Neymar, all the former players. You even see his Barcelona teammates with Messi and Piqué talking highly of him. And I think there's a reason for that. I think especially, under Tite in Brazil, there was no issues at all. And I think the same can be said for Arteta. Arteta is one of the best young coaches. And I think his explanation of football is definitely in line with how Neymar plays. Very jogo bonita, beautiful football, tiki-taka, nice plays. I think that's definitely where Neymar fits in. And I think that can definitely work as well. That sort of mingles into that style of play concern. But I think when people are saying that, it's probably more from a defensive aspect. Maybe he's not the workhorse of a Martinelli or a Jesus. But, he definitely does get around the pitch. And I think on attacking aspect is definitely where we're going to see Neymar shine. He can beat a defender one-on-one. He can make that little bit of magic and score out of nothing. But he can also, make everyone else better. He can play amazing through balls. I think he can get a better output from our other attacking players as well. And even, with that whole sort of argument of is he going to press like our other players, I think there's definitely ways to hide players in your system. See what Arteta's doing with Havertz. He isn't necessarily a workhorse, but he can still make it work. Obviously, there's a lot more to be shown if Havertz works or not, but just saying like that game against Barcelona, you don't need everyone to be a workhorse type player for a pressing system to succeed. So that being said, I think I'm going to go on to this last concern, which is probably the biggest one for me, and it is his injury record. So let me just pop over. As you can see, he does have quite an extensive injury history. And I get it, he does miss a lot of games, and these are just over the last couple of years. If you look at his whole record, it is quite a bit longer than that. But why I don't think it's too much of an issue is I don't think we need him to play 38 games in the league. I think if we can get somewhere in the 20, 25 games out of him, plus those Champions League games, I think that is perfect. With Man City, for instance, you see Riyad Mahrez, probably one of the best right wingers. He didn't play every game. Sometimes it was Phil Foden, sometimes it was Bernardo Silva, yet it was still the same result of typically winning. And then it was the same. If Haaland's not playing, you got Julian Alvarez right behind him. And I think that's the sort of thing we need at Arsenal, especially if we're going to try and catch this City team and try and trump them in both, the Premier League and the Champions League. I don't think they're going to go anywhere anytime soon. And I think we're going to need to improve our team quite drastically to catch them. And also why I don't want Neymar to play week in, week out. I think we have a lot of depth, especially if he was to come. Let's say he's starting that left wing position. He can play half the games, the other half Martinelli. Or, I'm going to get into that versatility a bit later, but let's say he plays in another position. We're pretty stacked there as well. And I get that it's not, the best sort of track record of injuries, a lot of ankles, a lot of adductors, a lot of injuries that can reoccur. But I think if we maintain him, we rotate him a lot more, he can stay healthier for a longer duration, or at least that's the hope. But, what we're getting Neymar for isn't his injury record, it is his output. As you can see, he's pretty prolific every season. Starting off with the most recent one, yes, it's Ligue 1, it's not the best league in the world, but, everyone sort of raves about Mbappe's stats. But if you watch PSG play, I feel like a lot of time when Neymar is in there, he's the one sort of dictating play. He's the one sort of quote-unquote taking the game by the scruff of the neck. And I think he honestly outshines Mbappe a lot. I think maybe Mbappe's more sort of at the end of things, so he gets a lot more of the glory. But Neymar has been really instrumental in how PSG play for the last couple of years. And you can see in that last season, in only 20 games, he got 13 goals and 11 assists. Now, if you don't think the Ligue 1's good enough, Champions League, 6 games, 2 goals, 3 assists. It's nearly an output every single game, and I think that's something we definitely need in this Arsenal team. You look the Champions League before, I'll give you that, probably wasn't the best output. 6 games, 2 assists. The one before, 9 games, 6 goals, 2 assists. I'm all over the place. 9 games, 6 goals, 3 assists. So again, 1 goal contribution per game. And I think, especially in those Champions League games, maybe when it gets a bit later into the stages where it's a bit tougher to break teams down, I think a lot of teams sort of play reserved. I think we're going to struggle to score goals and get through each stage. And I think we need someone, who's been there, who's shown even in his later stages of his career, let's say, can still provide goals and assists. And so I think, for that reason, he'd be a fantastic attribute. Another one is versatility. So let's say, for instance, I'm just not going to play around with the team too much. That back line can definitely have different options, but let's just say Arteta goes with Ramsdale, White, Saliba, Gabriel Zinchenko for that defense, Rice or Partey for that holding 6, and then Havertz or Rice depending on the formation, and Odegaard for the midfield. following it up with an attack of Saka, Jesus, and Neymar. I think Neymar on the left, sort of breaking teams down. Like I said, delivering through balls. I think he would make Jesus a lot better as well, put him in a lot of better scenarios while also taking a lot of the burden off Saka. A lot of times Saka gets doubled up, especially in this preseason. He's sort of been the driving factor every game. If we had someone on the opposite flank like a Neymar, I think a lot of teams would have to redesign how they defend against us. And yes, Martinelli is definitely direct. He's got his attributes as well. But I think Neymar is just that next level. And not only that, I don't think Neymar coming in would always have to be at the effect of Martinelli or the detriment of Martinelli. He can come in and play that attacking midfield as well. So in this team, you'd have Rice and Partey as a strong pivot behind him, protecting that back four and just letting that front four go and play. So it'd be Saka, Neymar, Martinelli, and Jesus. And I think that's dynamic enough to beat any team in the world, to be honest. And I think, although Odegaard has been instrumental, popping in 15 goals and 7 assists last season, I think bringing in a player like Neymar can also help. I think, Neymar is also an incredible facilitator, gets other people into the game as well. I think that's an underrated attribute of his. He's a fantastic passer of the ball, but also, he can break teams down by himself, amazing solo runs, and end it off with a goal. And so, in addition, I think just the overall versatility of what Neymar brings us will really help us. So let's say he's going to predominantly play on that left wing. I think him and Martinelli as our left wingers would be really strong. That way our strikers can be Jesus and Trossard. I think Trossard, is very underrated in that striker role. Yes, he's been used as an attacking 8, but I would definitely have him over Nketiah as that backup striker. Then that way, attacking 8, you can have Havertz and let's say Rice as the left and Odegaard, Smith Rowe as the right. And, then it'd be up to Fabio Vieira to prove his worth. Alternatively, you can have Neymar and Odegaard as the right attacking 8 or the 10. And then Emil Smith Rowe and Martinelli as the left wingers. And I think there's room for everyone to play here while also including a world-class talent like Neymar. But, let me know what you think. Do you think Neymar should come to the Arsenal? Do you think Arsenal should avoid him? Let me know your reasons. Let me know if you want me to talk about any other players or whether I think they should come to Arsenal. Maybe some players that we currently have, why I think they should maybe go. But yeah, let me know that all down in the comment section below. Just to catch up or a summary, Arteta, if you're listening, go after Neymar. I think he'd bring amazing versatility, that proven experience, especially in that Champions League. And I think he has something that a lot of our other players don't have, where he's an amazing driver of the ball and can just create something out of nothing. But that being said, this is me for today. Hope you enjoyed the first video and hope you stay tuned for many more. This is me for today. Thank you for listening. Peace.